Do you remember years ago when LeBron James tweeted out, "Stop trying to find a way to fit out and just fit in"? It was about Kevin Love, because Love wasn't fully embracing and accepting a lesser role on those Cavs teams like Chris Bosh did with the Heat. Because when you play with LeBron James, somebody's going to sacrifice, whether it was Bosh in Miami, Love in Cleveland, and now with the Los Angeles Lakers, that guy's Russell Westbrook. Russ needs to figure out a way to take on a lesser role, tweak his game to fully optimize what the Lakers can be, because if he doesn't, they're never going to reach their full potential. And I want to talk about Russell Westbrook today, but first, I want to get into LeBron James, because LeBron himself is showing the importance of fitting in and giving the team what it needs with his performance as a small ball center. It's not as if the Lakers are destroying teams with LeBron at the 5. They're only outscoring opponents by 4 points per 100 possessions when LeBron is at center without any other big man on the floor. They're struggling to get stops. They're struggling to get defensive rebounds because they're undersized. But that's because it's their primary lineup ever since Anthony Davis was sidelined by a knee injury. The incentive in discovering this lineup is what's going to happen when Anthony Davis returns. Because with LeBron at the 5, they are still outscoring opponents because their offense is just pulverizing defenses, especially LeBron with his downhill drives to the basket. 43% of his shots come at the rim when he plays center, up from only 31% in all other lineups, according to PBP stats. And his scoring is way up at the 5, with 33 points per 36 minutes compared to only 25 points per 36 when he plays with one or more bigs. Playing LeBron at the 5 just gives him and his teammates more room to operate. James has become the scorer the Lakers have needed, and Russell Westbrook is also getting better quality shots. With LeBron at the 5, Russ attempts 64% of his shots inside of the restricted area, and his effective field goal percentage leaps from 42% in all other lineups to 52% with LeBron at center. With the Lakers' sacrifice in defensive size with James at center, they made up in shooting. LeBron's gravity is also opening up driving lanes like Russ and Talen Horton-Tucker, and those attacks to the basket create kick-out passes to knock down shooters like Carmelo Anthony and Malik Monk. Monk himself has been unbelievable since Christmas. He's averaging 18 points while making 48% of his three-pointers. He's starting a lot of games, and he should continue to get heavy minutes because he's filling the role the Lakers once envisioned for Buddy Hield. They're using Monk off of screens, handoffs. He's relocating off the ball to launch three-pointers. And unlike Hield, Monk is also an explosive at-rim finisher who can attack off the catch or throw down lob dunks. Something we're seeing the Lakers do a lot of is having Monk set screens for LeBron when he's at center, and that's led to a lot of sequences like this one where Monk is springing loose for three-point shots or cuts towards the basket. The absence of Davis and others have forced the Lakers to get creative with their lineup choices, whether it's existing roster players like Horton-Tucker or Monk or Austin Reeves or new signings like Stanley Johnson. The Lakers are finding some new stuff that works. And even though Frank Vogel is on the hot seat for some of his very questionable lineup choices, you can't put all the blame on him for a team that's constantly in flux with new guys coming in and out. The Lakers are starting to stumble upon some things that are working. And once Davis returns, he's got to be healthy and energized. And if he is, that's where the Lakers can truly find themselves by leaning on AD at the 5 and LeBron at the 4 with occasional LeBron at center lineups that comes out of nowhere when it makes sense to do, like the Warriors do with Draymond at the 5, or the Rockets used to do with PJ Tucker and Robert Covington pulling Clint Capella off the floor. LeBron at center can become a situational weapon for the Lakers, not a necessity on a night-to-night basis. I'm bullish on LeBron at the 5 lineups because it's going to become something the Lakers do some of the time when it makes sense to do rather than all the time like they had to do while Anthony Davis was out. And I had a good discussion about this with J. Kyle Mann on the Void podcast, which you can hear in the link in the description below. But here's a clip of us talking about that before we get into Russ.
The LeBron at center thing is fascinating because you were talking about the pros and the cons. I feel like one of the big pros is just that, like, when you think about like the micro skills that it takes to play center on both sides of the ball, LeBron just ramps those up to 100 just because he has all those things, like the positional intelligence, the timing. How often do you have a guy who is like created and like facilitated at the level that he has, at the volume that he has, at the efficiency that he has at the back line of your, how often can you just like move a guy into a minimal role like that? Like LeBron can play at a slower speed when he's engaged and still bring you a lot of those things. You're getting a level of like IQ within the flow of your offense that is really hard to replicate. And that's why like LeBron at center is, I don't know. I was thinking about this. I texted you this. How fun would Malik have been? Like Malik's been playing really well the last 5 games. 20.8 points per game, one assist, 45.9% from 3 on 7.5 attempts.
7 of them, Kyle.
That's pretty good. He's just a joy to watch cook, really, honestly, when he's flowing, as we've seen. He's had some legendary like college games, but like, can you imagine Malik if he had gotten to play with like peak LeBron? How fun that would have been.
I mean, we're about to be seeing peak Malik Monk too in this offense. Some of the spacing that's provided, whether it's Dwight at the 5 or whether it's LeBron at the 5, like this has just been 6 games. But it's 6 straight games of the version of Malik Monk that we hope to see in the NBA, right? Like this isn't this what we hoped to see when he was drafted? And it's also 6 straight games of the Lakers showing why they still feel they made the right choice in trading for Russell Westbrook and signing Malik Monk instead of trading for Buddy Hield. And I know Monk is one of the reasons why the Lakers aren't like necessarily getting stops on defense, but they don't have Anthony Davis right now, and if AD can come back and stay healthy, they've really got something here. Like LeBron at the 5, that's a weapon. It's not supposed to be an every game thing like it has been for them. And once AD's back at the 5 instead of Dwight in those lineups, LeBron's going to be playing more of the 4, and then LeBron at center with 4 perimeter players, including Monk. That's going to be a weapon in those advantageous moments like a lot of other teams do, whether it's Golden State, Brooklyn, or Houston in the past with PJ Tucker. And this is with LeBron. This is with LeBron at the 5. The Lakers could shred teams when they're pulling it out in the moments that it makes sense to do instead of all the time.
Yeah. And it's a thing too where it's like we go through this thing in the regular season where we're all like it's Lakers fans make it fun. I always joke they're a lot like Kentucky fans. They're fun to poke, they're fun to mess with, they get real riled up, they're dialed in on everything. Don't talk about my team, that kind of thing. But like LeBron, we go through this every time. When it comes down to the playoffs, LeBron's almost like an expert, like high level attorney or something that is like a master of litigation. He's just like, he knows every nook and cranny of basketball. He knows how to pull you into the muck because he's smarter than you are. And we even saw it with like that Sun series last year, even though the Lakers had been kind of like just a little odd all year and sort of sluggish at times. They still, when it comes down to it, you're going to have to, the key thing now is just they're going to have to put together a stretch to get there, to get into one of these series so that they can do it. I mean, I don't know that I'd really want to play a LeBron team in like the first round. Like if everybody's healthy, if everything is rolling, he's just, I don't know, he's a special IQ, generational IQ, as we know.
Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely amazing, and he continues to add layers. Like Fizdale had that rant recently saying, LeBron played 40 minutes at center. You guys don't realize what you see with his greatness. I mean, in year 19 doing this, it blows my mind.
I just told the team that. They kind of laughed at first like it was no big deal. I'm like, I don't think you guys realize what this guy just did. He just played the 5 for 4 quarters and dominated at the position and played it while playing point guard, he just, oh my gosh, this guy is unbelievable. I can't help it, man. It's like we're very lucky as basketball people to get to watch what we're watching right now out of this man. And it's just beautiful. And I know our results haven't been coming back the way we want them to right now. But the way he's going about this thing and the way he's playing, he can't help but to galvanize us and really get this team to go in the right direction. And I just really feel like, as we start to get healthy, his energy and will and his leadership and his poise will be the thing that really pushes us forward.
David Fisdale had a little bit of a fan in him talking about LeBron there, but he gets it. Seriously, year 19 and LeBron James is doing all of this. AD goes down. He's like, oh yeah, I'll play the 5. I'll be the 5. And he does a pretty good job doing it on a nearly full-time basis. I mean, it's extraordinary what he does. And it also sets the tone, in my opinion, for this entire Lakers team with what they all need to do to collectively reach their full potential. And that all starts with Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook has got to change his game. He's voted as one of the NBA's 75 greatest players of all time by legends, by historians, by coaches, by the people who have been involved in the NBA for decades. He's put on the NBA's 75th anniversary team. Russell Westbrook is undeniably a great player, a Hall of Famer, an MVP, and maybe someday he'll be a champion. But in order for that to happen, in order for him to hoist the Larry O'Brien trophy someday, he's got to evolve his game. And LeBron James has shown how to do that more than anybody on his team. LeBron taking on the center role. He did it. You know who else did it? Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard, a guy who for many, many years is posting up over and over and over again, has become a guy who sprints up the floor in transition, even if it means not getting the ball, who screens and rolls hard to the rim, who sits around the dunker spot and cuts and still tries hard on defense and still rebounds. He's done that to survive in the NBA, and he's done it because it's what his team needs to win. Carmelo Anthony used to be a go-to scoring mid-range guy with the Knicks and Nuggets, and then he struggled to find himself with Portland and Houston, and now he's with the Lakers, and it's all fitting. He's become a guy shooting over half of his shots from three-point range, only taking the mid-range shot when it's there, playing hard on defense. He's a different version of himself because it's what he needs to do to survive and thrive for his team. Russell Westbrook hasn't learned that lesson yet, and he needs to. He just needs to look around the locker room. That's it. Look around at Melo and Howard and LeBron and learn from those guys. That's what Russell Westbrook needs to do. And I don't think it's unfair for one of the NBA's 75 greatest players of all time to be asked to change. Someone who starts off at the greatest peaks has room to fall and still be a highly productive player. This isn't some role player being asked to go from a spot up 3-point shooter to a rim running big. This is Russell Westbrook, the guy who for so long with OKC to Houston to Washington, now the Lakers, has brought energy that's contagious for his teammates, who has tried hard, who has authored so many clutch moments over the years. This is the Russell Westbrook who dunks on people, who steals the ball and sparks transition opportunities. Russell Westbrook is a great player. But when I say like he makes bonehead decisions, or he can't shoot, or he's lackadaisical on defense, or aloof on defense, I get called a hater. I don't get it. Like all of it's true. All of it's true. And with Russell Westbrook now at this stage of his career for the Lakers, look at what they need. Think about what they're missing. They're missing reliable defensive players. They're missing defensive players who are locked in, constantly focused. That play a couple weeks back when Russell Westbrook allowed Patty Mills to spring wide open for a 3, that said it all to me. I mean, like, it happens time and time again with him. It has all through the years. Maybe he's unchangeable and he's always going to make mistakes on defense. I believe when he locks in, he can be better. Just like Melo. Just like LeBron, for that matter. Defense is so much about effort and focus. Why can't Russ be better? Why can't he be better with a lesser offensive workload? On offense, Russ deserves credit. He's not shooting the ball as much as he has for many, many years now since he was a young player. So credit there where it's due. But he's still making so many poor decisions when he does have the ball in his hands as a scorer. Like, stop shooting the ball, Russ. Stop shooting the ball as much as you do. Just stop. Stop. That's all Lakers fans want. Just stop shooting so much. It's simple. He's one of the most inefficient shooters ever. Stop shooting so much. It's so simple. Like, you're still a good interior finisher. You're still a good cutter. You're a pretty good spot up 3-point shooter in the corner. Just stop shooting off the dribble so often. And if he just tweaks his game to bottle up all that energy, just bottle it all up and focus on spot up shooting, on cutting to the basket, be alert, cut Create opportunities for LeBron and your teammates to find you on cuts to the rim where you're at your best inside. Do that. Set screens like the Lakers had Westbrook do for LeBron early in the season. I believe that can work. It can create mismatches for LeBron or for Russ, because with Russ, if he's doing the little things, if he's trying on defense, if he's spotting up, if he's cutting, if he's screening, if he's doing the dirty work and putting his energy into that, he can still also do the on-ball stuff. Russell Westbrook can still run pick and roll for you. He can run the show when LeBron James isn't on the court. He can run the show when LeBron's on the court if he has an advantageous matchup. Just by doing less, Russ can offer more. It just feels so simple to me. My theory is the Lakers felt the same way, that LeBron and Clutch Sports felt the same way, because they chose Russ over Buddy Hield. They didn't just choose Russ, though. They chose Malik Monk. Malik Monk has been very, very good ever since the Lakers went with LeBron at the 5. Monk is a sharpshooter for them. He brings energy. He's a lob threat. He might be better for the Lakers than Buddy Hield would have been, especially when you consider the upside of Russell Westbrook. The Lakers are in a position now where LeBron, he's fitting in. AD, he's fitting in, playing his role. Russell Westbrook needs to fit in, change his game, become somebody that he hasn't been. And maybe that's unreasonable. Maybe that's unreasonable. I was on a podcast recently with Ryan Russillo, and he's like, this is silly. It's silly to expect Russ to change. Here's a quick clip from that before we get back to Russ. I just don't see how it's unreasonable to expect more from a great player. He's one of the 75 greatest players in NBA history from the NBA 75th anniversary list. Why? I don't see how it's unreasonable to expect more from a guy like that at this stage of his career on a team where he's teammates with LeBron and AD. I just don't see how it's unreasonable.
Well, the theory isn't unreasonable. The thing it's like asking a waterfall to go in another direction. It's just
Is it though?
It is. I can't even believe
people can change, Ryan. Players can change.
We do this shit with quarterbacks. It's like year 7, fourth coordinator, and we're like, if you could just figure out a way to eliminate some of the mistakes. I don't know. There's just too many guys that we give all this. I think the best way to say it's like hope. Like you go, why would you think that this is going to change at any point? If you're doing this, and this is, I don't even need to keep going because I've gone forever, and then it turns to this thing. It's almost sounds like it's
I believe
personal.
in him too much? Do I believe in him too much? Is that thing? Because people like with that tweet, they say, "Oh, you're a Russ hater," blah blah blah, this and that. Do I believe in him too much to at least have a sliver of hope?
For you to have an open mind that all of a sudden he's going to change his approach to basketball, I think is absurd. So yeah, I'm not trying to be mean about it. Just saying.
I don't think so. I don't. I still think there's a chance. When you're playing with LeBron James, fit in or fit out, Ryan. As I said to Ryan on the podcast, I disagree with him. I think Russell Westbrook can change. I don't see why he can't when we've seen so many great players do it over the years. We're seeing so many great players do it today. And we've seen so many great players do it on teams with LeBron James. It happens. It has happened, and it could happen again. And if it doesn't, that's where change is going to happen. It's just a matter of what, because you look at this Lakers roster, they don't have many movable pieces. Their only young players with some level of value are Talen Horton-Tucker and Austin Reeves and maybe Malik Monk. That's why I come back to the LeBron quote from 7 years ago. 7 years ago. Fit out or fit in. I believe LeBron James and Anthony Davis and Austin Reeves and Trevor Ariza and Dwight Howard and Carmelo Anthony, all these older guys mixed in with some of these younger guys, Malik Monk, they're fitting in. They're playing together. They're doing the things that they need to do. Russell Westbrook isn't. Russell Westbrook needs to learn how to fit in or he's fitting out. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of The Void. Please do us a favor and leave a comment below with what you thought. What do you think about the Lakers? What's going to happen with Russ? What should the Lakers do with trades? Is there anything out there for them? Do you have any belief in this team to win the NBA Finals with their roster as presently constructed? I don't know how I feel, to be honest with you, about their title hopes. I'm really not sure, because that banks on Russell Westbrook to change. And despite my belief that he can, that doesn't mean that he will. That doesn't mean that he will. He never has. He's got to do something that he's never done before. So we'll see what happens there. Let me know in the comments below. And while you're there, please give this video a like and subscribe to The Ringer so you get all of the NBA videos that we do here with my stuff. We got podcast breakouts. We got J. Kyle Man. The one thing you should know is that Bill Simmons will not be on this channel anymore. Bill Simmons moved to his own channel, the Bill Simmons Podcast. You can check that out also at a link in the description below. Be sure to subscribe there to get all of Bill's videos, all of his NBA, NFL, rewatchable stuff. It's all over there on the Bill Simmons Podcast YouTube page. So thank you again for watching this video. I hope you have a fun rest of your day.